Welcome back. In today's episode, we continue with part 2 of the interview with Robyn Benincasa. In today's episode, she talks about her obsession with issues and why it's so important to deal with issues when they're small, and how these lessons apply not only to adventure racing, but also in life and in business. If you haven't already listened to part 1, please start there.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. I hesitate to even ask this question, but I have to. What is your biggest weakness?
All
right, next question.
No, because there's just so many to choose from. Oh my gosh, let's see. I'm a really picky as heck eater. I'm the worst. So I'm not as good with my nutrition as I need to be. I'm terrible with my hydration. It's a huge Achilles heel. I'm terrible with being uncomfortable I get obsessed with, if I have a blister, if I have a thing, if I have something that's bothering me, I obsess about it. It doesn't slow me down, but I freaking obsess about it for hours and hours and hours. But whereas on the one hand, it gives you something to think about. But on the other hand, I don't let myself get in a lot of discomfort because I'm so bad at it. And maybe that is part of the key to endurance, is like taking care of stuff early. Like the minute I'm uncomfortable, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? What's my body chemistry doing? Is my skin open? Do I have a wound? Do I have a blister starting? I take care of stuff early because I just know that mentally I'm just going to obsess about it for however long. So, I mean, in one way that is a key to endurance, is being comfortable longer than other people, because you slow down. When you get uncomfortable, you slow down a lot. And so I found in endurance, a lot of the key is, I was the goofball that had the big goofy fat seat on my mountain bike. And, big puffy mountain bike seat. And people would laugh their asses off at me. I'd be like, wait for it. And then they'd be the one with the baboon butt, literally bleeding in places you should not be bleeding ever, with such gnarly scabs. And I called it baboon butt because, and in so much pain just from bone bruising for riding your mountain bike 200 miles with a seat that you normally ride 20 miles on. And it slows you down, and the rest of the race would be completely screwed up. And I would, jump on there with no bike shorts, just my regular whatever I was wearing at the time. Saved me time, saved me energy because I wasn't in pain. But that kind of the weakness in a way kind of led to my discovering what one of the keys to going long is, and that's taking care of stuff early and staying as comfortable as you can for as long as you can.
That is great advice. And I love the fact that you say address it early. I think so many times in business, people allow the little teeny things to go unmanaged, and all of a sudden you turn around one day and you've got a major problem now. It happens in health, happens in business, happens in relationships.
I know, you just want to brush stuff under the rug and ignore it.
Yeah, maybe it'll just go away.
It's easy to do.
It'll get better tomorrow, right? I've never been guilty of that.
Yeah, it's really, but again, business relationships, it's an endurance game. And you can't go long if you're uncomfortable.
Great advice. I find that peak performers, it's not what they say yes to, but it's what they say no to. How do you determine what to say yes to?
Well, I'm a big believer in following your personal gold, your strengths. And so as I got older, and I changed sports a number of times because I discovered, well, I'm better at this piece of the adventure race, so maybe I'll just focus on that. Or I'm better in heat, or I'm better in cold. Or you kind of discover, if you observe yourself over years, you discover what you're good at, what you happen to be better at, then you kind of see other people like they struggle more than you do. And when you find those things, you have to put that in the back of your mind, in your arsenal, and kind of say, these are my core competencies. These are my core strengths that I need to mine. And so pretty early on in my life, I kind of started saying no to the things I was just naturally not great at, and started really focusing on discovering what I was really good at, what came naturally to me. And, so ultimately over my life, that's how I ended up being an endurance paddler. Is I went from, gymnastics to diving to track to cross country to Ironman. Just discovered I was a crappy swimmer and a crappy runner. went to judo. Got pretty good at combat stuff because I was always kind of big-ish for an endurance athlete. Like, I was always racing the little greyhounds, and I was a Rottweiler. So I was doing Ironman at 158, and wow. I couldn't lose an ounce. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna fight. So I went to a total U-turn there, and then got really pretty good at judo at the national level, and then discovered adventure racing. And when I discovered adventure racing, I was like, this is what I was meant to do, because Ironman in my mind it wasn't. And this is going to sound ridiculous when I say it. It wasn't long enough to suit my strength. Like I always felt like, it was long and it sucked, and I definitely wanted to stop. I'm not saying that. It was not a walk in the park at all by any means. But I just felt like my strength was going to be going longer. Like if it was a double Ironman or it was a triple Ironman, maybe I could catch some of the really good people by just staying steady, because I didn't have the speed. I just had the low level, could do it forever. And I'd always had that. So then I discovered adventure racing, and I was like, this is what I was meant to do. And I was right. And did that for 17 years with some of the top teams in the sport. I was extremely lucky in that respect to have raced with the best guys and girls in the world. And then from that, I started having my hips replaced. That's a whole nother saga. But then I said, you know what? I always loved the paddling sections the most. And so then I started being an endurance paddler, and that is the thing that I am best at in my life. And I'm so glad that I've ended up here. But again, it's that observation of, here's what I'm good at, here's what I'm not good at, and just sort of weaving your way towards your real strengths, and continuing to try things so you can hone it down into a very sharp point of who you are and what you're great at, and that is where your genius and where your opportunity lies. In business, in sports, whatever it is mining what you already have in your body, your soul, your heart, that you're going to be good at. And that does come from years of observation and trying. And, so, in a way it's kind of nice to be, and you're probably at this phase of your life too, where you're like, wow, I've found the things, I found the things that I was always meant to do. And, that's the stuff that I say yes to. And when people are like, oh, we should go run this ultra, or we should go swim this ultra, I'm like, no, thanks. I gotta stick a pin in my eye. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm a lousy manager. I don't like it. I'm not good at it. And it's like, I don't want to become a better manager. I'll let somebody else do that. I know what I'm good at, and that's not one of them. And I really have no interest to become better at it. So.
No, I'm totally with you.
It
just makes sense, right? Just stick with your greatness and mind that. I'm not a big fan. Everyone's like, oh, you got to shore up your weaknesses. I'm like, no, screw your weaknesses. Put those away. Yeah. go after your strengths. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about, sharply pointed versus well-rounded. And it's the sharply pointed folks that get stuff done and excel at their game. Yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely.
So every team member has a role in their team. When you were adventure racing, what was your role within the team?
Well, I race a lot with the Aussies and New Zealanders. And, oh, my God, they're the best people on earth. Best people on earth. But what they were great at and what I was great at were two completely different things. They were great at the racing piece, the navigation, the keeping your head in the game of not getting too wrapped around the axle, which was kind of nice because I was the person that got wrapped around the axle sometimes. But what I brought to the table was the business side, the strategy, the media side, the ability to talk to the race director when we had like a penalty or something, to negotiate. I fed everybody. I was the person who kept us on track and on schedule and said when we slept or didn't sleep. And, so you I was almost sort of like the manager in a lot of ways, in a lot of capacities. And it was the same out on the course. Like anything that needed to be organized or dealt with, or, do we eat? Do we sleep? Do we talk to the race director? That was all me. And it was good from the aspect of, God bless those guys' hearts. Like they just wouldn't, they're not the people that would kind of fight for themselves, or they're just so agreeable and wonderful that they aren't thinking as much about strategy and the rest of the people that we're trying to compete against. And so that was what I kind of brought. And then of course out there, it was very much a democracy. It was sort of, who was strongest at the moment happened to be the leader, whether it was they were strong at mountain biking and the rest of the team wasn't as strong as they were, or they were a better paddler, they were a better navigator, they were a better strategist. So it was kind of neat because all of us would lead at different times. And, some of it was based on who was the most awake. You're the leader. but it moved very, very seamlessly. But it was good to bring that role because they were the best athletes and adventure racers in the world. And then when they had the business side kind of in me, that's when we really started to take off. Nice.
Where do you do your best thinking?
When I'm out playing. I'm really a freak about getting my time. It's like I wake up, have coffee, and I have to go play. I have to go do my thing, whatever, whether it's riding my bike or paddling my boat or going to Orange Theory Fitness or whatever it is I'm going to do, or stair climber or run the stairs. I have to go out and play, and that's where you can have a lot of your deeper thoughts, and everything's just free. Everything else just goes away other than what's in the moment and what your brain needs to chew on. And you always end up coming home feeling, no one's ever said, I wish I hadn't gone to the gym. I wish I hadn't done those sets of stairs. I wish I hadn't ridden my bicycle this morning. That sentence never happened. So I think that's the other than that, you're just sort of in the world and talking to other people, and you're not in your own space, and I personally need that a lot.
Besides that, do you have any other daily habits that are part of your routine?
Let's see. I have to kiss my puppy 1,000,000 times.
What kind of puppy? I'm a dog guy. You got to tell me.
Oh my gosh, she's a rampant mutant, funny-looking, half-naked mutt rescue thing, and she's like the best thing that ever happened in my whole life, aside from my honey bunny Jeff, and my awesome parental units.
Nice.
And, she's oh my god, I can't even be more in love, and I don't have any kids. And when people say, oh, if you like your puppy, wait till you have a kid, I if there's another level, I can't imagine it. I can't even wrap my brain around it. It's
kids will eventually disappoint you at some point. The dog never disappoints you.
That's what I'm saying. See, exactly. Yeah. I'm okay. I'm like, am I just a jerk?
No.
So much, and oh, it's not a person. I'm like, whatever, dude. But it's about the love that's coming from you.
Yes.
That is the magical part.
Yes. I have an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old, and it's just, the dog's always there, but they just kind of look at you strange and then bark back at you.
And they will always be there. So she's like, I had a little, dog when I was little, but my mom mostly took care of it. But this is my firstborn, my first baby. And there is nothing I love to do more in the world than just hang out with my baby. And and then work on my little nonprofit as well, which is
tell us about that.
Much more than a hobby. It's like the most amazing thing that's ever happened in my life, next to the puppy. So it's called the Project Athena Foundation, and what we do is my semi-broken adventure racer friends and I we get together and we help coach and train survivors of medical or traumatic setbacks to cross really challenging, generally endurance-related finish lines as part of their recovery. So, and the wild hair came to me because I was really inspired by a good friend of mine, Louise Cooper, who is now a 2-time breast cancer survivor. But we were with her. Her first bout with breast cancer was in 98, and I just kind of observed her in action, and she's another, she's just an amazing peak performer that you should probably also talk to. But she, went through her chemo, and, while she was bald and she was on the steroids and she was retaining water and all that, every single day she still went out and did whatever she could do. And some days that was walk to the mailbox and back. But that was like her training. Like, she never gave up on her training, and she never gave up on having a race on her calendar. And so she decided she was going to climb the 7 summits, and she's climbed 5 of them now so far. But she always put something on her calendar. So she was training for something. So she was still a runner, an adventurer, a mountaineer. And then when I started having my hips replaced about 8 years ago, I did the same thing. I was like, well, this worked for Louise. And so that's when I put the MR340 on my calendar for the first time, and the Yukon River Quest. That's a 460-mile paddle. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going through this thing, but I'm an ultra paddler, and I'm training for my next race. And there's something about that really keeps your head and your spirit in the game.
Yes.
And so we got together and said, this is really cool. Let's kind of take this magical combination that really helped us and do this for other women. So we have 7 adventures a year now, and we're 8 years into it. And we have adventures like we hike across the Grand Canyon in one day. And they're adventures where, it's cool because it's a big comeback party for their survivors. And it's not like we're there to help them accomplish it. It's they've trained their asses off, and they're coming for their big comeback. They're coming to show themselves and the world and their family, I'm not only back, I'm better than I ever was before this breast cancer, or before my amputation, or before the coma I was in for 4 months. It's their big comeback party. And so they come, we give them a coach and a training plan, and they work one-on-one with our coaches for 6 months before their adventure. And when they get there, they're on fire. So it's pretty cool because, we're there to just facilitate their success. And then we also have the rest of the group that comes. All of our trips, we'll have about 40 people per trip, and 10, 15 will be survivors, and the rest of the group will be fundraisers, who we call our gods and goddesses. So It's kind of neat because the fundraisers come on the adventures with the survivors that they've actually raised money to help accomplish their adventurous goal. So it's a big love fest. We all stay together as one big team. And so the other neat thing is the tie-in is we do it all as one big team. So a lot of the fundraisers have seen my keynote because I work with a lot of corporations, and so a lot of the gods and goddesses are from Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 companies, and so they then get to experience the whole teamwork piece that they heard about in the keynote, but it's for a really cool cause. So it's sort of the intersection of everything I've ever done in my life coming together in one magical package called Project Athena. And so we have a Grand Canyon hike. We hike across in one day, and then we have another adventure where we hike across in one day and back the next. So it's rim to rim to rim. Then we do a 120-mile kayak and bike ride from Key Largo to Key West over 3 days, camping on the beaches all the way down. And then we do a 24-hour nonstop adventure race as one big team, a big journey for 24 hours in Santa Barbara, and a 50-mile hike down the coast of San Diego over 2 days. And these are all things, again, that a survivor is going to tell their friends and family, and it's something that they would never even do, and that's why it's so much fun. Because the survivor is like, yeah, I just had my double mastectomy 5 months ago, and I'm going to do a 24-hour adventure race. Thanks for all your support. Here I go. Watch me do this. And that's why it's so much fun is, and that's what we like to tell people, oh, I don't want any more help. It's like, no, this isn't about you having more help. This is you showing the world what a badass you are, after a big setback.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that the fundraisers get involved as well. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh my God, it's the best. It's the best thing in the world. And we have so many people come back year after year because it's hard to find that sort of unconditional love and that teamwork and have everybody in your circle believing all the same things that you believe about. No egos. Let's take care of each other. We're going to sing together. We're going to cry together. We're going to pee on each other's shoes. We're going to encourage each other. We're going to see each other at our best and at our worst, and it's all okay. And that's why we're here. And that's why we're all going to get to the finish line together. And it's such a magical experience to all cross that finish line together after everything we've been through out there. And your job, if you're one of the stronger people, is to go to the back and to help my facilitator, who we call the Reaper, who's a Best Ranger winner, one of the biggest badasses in the world, with like the biggest mushy inside you could ever imagine. Like he's just this big teddy bear, and I'm not supposed to tell anybody that. But
Too
but
late.
you know, like if you're strong, you go back and you help the Reaper. You know, if you need help, you raise your hand, because that's what you do for the team. You know, you say, I don't want to slow anybody down here, so I'm going to give my pack right now, or I'm going to, you know, have somebody help me get enough hydration, or help me eat something salty because I can't get to my food right now, or you know, everyone's sharing food, everyone's sharing water, and that's just the way we roll. And you know, what we hear a lot is, I wish the real world was like this. I wish, and I'm like, it starts with you. You take that wish back with you, and you take it to your family, and you take it to your company, and you know, it starts with the culture around you. And, you know, so we've kind of started this, you know, little mini, you know, revolution about how we want to be, not just for mushiness and Barney and Fluffy and rainbows, but for peak performance. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. You know, peak performance isn't about just the individual. It's about who can I surround myself with, and we can make each other better together.
Absolutely. You know, and I believe that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 3 or more.
Yeah. And we demonstrate that on every Project Athena adventure. It's because these are adventures that you would never do alone, ever, 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 ever. But with the training and with the team, it's possible for every single one of us.
Yeah. And what I guess we should point out also, that on these adventure races, all the members of a team must cross the finish line together. That's part of the process. And I love that metaphor.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, there's very rarely anything like that in real life. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And that's why there were so many lessons from it, is because of that rule. That, you know, because why wouldn't you? If someone was like struggling, having a hard time, whatever, they didn't train well enough or whatever it is, you know, they weren't up to your par. In the real world, you just move along. You know, it's like, okay.
Yeah, we fire them, we divorce them, we break up with them, right? You know,
exactly.
We put them down.
But but in this case, where the rules said you personally can't even call yourself a success, you're not allowed to say you even cross the finish line. There's going to be a huge DNF next to your name if you don't cross the finish line without every single one of your teammates.
Great.
And that brings up a whole new level of how much you have to care for each other, because their success is your success. And what we discovered is, you know, at first we all did it because of the rules, but then we realized that this wasn't just because of the rules. This was kick-ass strategy. Like, this was killer strategy. The more we took care of each other, as though it was our finish that we were taking care of in the other person, which was the case, the more we did that, the faster we went, and the faster and further we went. And so it went from being just something you had to do for the rules to being something that you did because it was the best strategy.
Incredible. I know you have a very strong internal standard, but who else holds you accountable? Being a peak performer is all about execution. Think of those people that you know that you consider peak performers. Some have had great plans. Some are really smart. Some just have natural talent. And others are highly educated. But the one thing that they all have in common, and I don't even know who you're thinking about, they all know how to execute. If they can't execute, they would not be considered a peak performer. Everybody has dreams, but peak performers actually execute them. This applies on the field, in athletics, or in the boardroom. If you're a business owner, a coach, an entrepreneur, or a corporate executive, and you're frustrated and tired of knowing what to do, but you just can't seem to get it all done, or your results are inconsistent, or maybe you're really good at execution, but your team doesn't know how to execute. Are you missing budget? Are you working 80 hours a week and it seems like you're just banging your head up against the wall every day? I know I've been there. Are you not making the kind of money that you want and deserve? I have a program that just might be the answer for you. This program is not for everyone. We go deep, we get raw, we get real. But if you're truly committed to mastering execution, and for the first time, truly being able to execute on what you know, as opposed to just trying to figure out more information and looking for that secret, we will teach you to become a master of execution. We'll teach you the science of getting things done. Simply take your phone and text the word BE Summit, one word, to 41411. That's Business Execution Summit. The keyword, BE Summit, that's what you text, and text it to 41411. Remember, it's not what you know. It's not even who you know. It's about what you're able to execute. That's what truly matters. Don't let another month, another quarter, or another year slip by with just average results. Text today. That concludes part 2 of our interview with Robyn Benincasa. Please tune in later this week for part 3. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already done so, please head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Also, please share this with family, friends, coworkers, or anyone that could benefit from this information. To make it very easy to share these episodes, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode that you want to share, and you can post it to your timeline. You just might be helping one of your friends on Facebook by sharing it on your page. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. The email is info@thorconklin. While at the website, please sign up for our weekly newsletter with additional tricks, tips, tools, and psychology on how to be a peak performer. Remember, these episodes are anywhere between 6 and 35 minutes and are meant to be consumed during dot time doing other things. Until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.